Events about to unfold before us happened over 40 years ago. Perhaps you were among the crowds that stormed the Capitol on that fateful day in 1917. Some shouting for war, some crying for peace. Inside the White House, President Woodrow Wilson conferred with advisors, then signed the proclamation of war against Germany.
Even though the United States portrayed the Bolshevik Revolution as a chaotic danger to American society, the Palmer raids displayed that the United States was in itself a chaotic government that jeopardized its own American values. The Red Scare, which was a period of fear for the potential rise of communism in the United States, lasted from 1917 to 1921. The Red Scare began in the same year that the United States entered World War I, and thus coincided with many nationalist elements that the engagement into the war had spurred on.
And the population didn't want to enter the war. So within a couple of months, Wilson was talking about victory without peace. And you had to somehow drive the population into accepting this sharp change of policy, the opposite of what they voted for.
So Woodrow Wilson and the United States were struggling to convince a large amount of the population to go to war. But meanwhile, in Russia, there was a massive revolution that would threaten American values all the way back home. It was called the Bolshevik Revolution. The Bolshevik Revolution was a workers' revolution. It began in 1917 and was designed to eliminate all capitalist values in Russia. The revolution was led by a man called Vladimir Lenin. And although it happened all the way in Russia, the revolution had a direct impact on American lives and left many Americans to feel threatened that a communist takeover was possible. The notion of losing American principles of capitalism to foreign powers instigated social unease, which quickly snowballed into nationwide chaos. Social unrest broke out in various forms. One instance was the steel strike of 1919, in which many protesting workers attempted to gain control of the steel industry. Additionally, anarchists and radicalists alike believed that the elite, the capitalists, and the rich were controlling the common citizens of the nation for personal gain. They took action and mailed in April 1919 30 bombs to government officials. Then, on June 2nd, the same year, they launched another onslaught of bombs, one of which, sent by Carlo Valdenosi, who actually blew himself up in the process, turned up on the doorstep of Richard Palmer's house. Palmer was a newly appointed Attorney General of the Department of Justice of the United States of America. Richard Palmer did not take too kindly and responded in turn. He led the division of the Social Justice Department against radical action. In 1919, November 7th, symbolically the date of the second anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution, they launched massive raids on foreign aliens, radicals, and anarchists, and either deported them from the United States or arrested them for jeopardizing American values. The enforcement of the United States Justice Department were only made possible by the Espionage Act that was passed in 1917 and the Sedition Act that was passed a year later. Essentially, these acts eliminated the right of free speech. Any of those who spoke up or believed in radical or communist beliefs could be subjected to arrest under the principle that they were threatening American values of democracy. Palmer didn't stop there. With the help of J. Edgar Hoover, he launched another raid upon supposed radicals. As a result, Sacco and Vanzetti, two Italian anarchists, were put to death by the electric chair, even though there was a large lack of evidence indicating that they ever broke the law. As well, 10,000 citizens were either deported or jailed. The 4th, 5th, and 6th, and even the 8th Amendments were broken in the process. The Red Scare was known as one of the darker ages of United States history. It was eternal chaos. People were scared of their own neighbors, immigrants were constantly being scapegoated, and the United States government seemed to be stepping around the fundamental rights of any citizen in the attempt to restore order. Ironically, the Palmer raids only caused more chaos and social unrest than the radical actions of the anarchists. As well, propaganda and political cartoons also played a very big role in highlighting the communist as someone that needed to be stamped out. The Red Scare left a legacy of discrimination against immigrants for generations later, while Palmer's abuse of federal power ironically characterized the United States as the nation to be scared of. The United States' disregard for its own fundamental principles displayed that the country was in fact governed just as chaotically than those of which the United States supposed they were better than.